Are you ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAA Radio, Mondays at 1 and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Pacific Time. If you're ready to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and bra straps, enjoy a listen. Here's Sheila.
Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and here we have real people sharing real solutions and action steps to help you rebuild, reinvent, and reboot your life on your terms. All right, today we have a special guest. We have Tonya Fitzpatrick. Tonya is the co-founder of World Footprints, a socially conscious travel media platform that includes the award-winning World Footprints podcast. She's a 3-time TEDx and international speaker, lawyer, author, and Explorers Club member. Tonya was appointed as a delegate to the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women and is the former White House political appointee. She graduated from London School of Economics, Wayne State University Law School, and has attended East China University of Politics and Law. And she does not sleep ever. Welcome to the show, Tonya.
Oh, thank you so much, Sheila. And you have no idea how truthful that comment was. I really don't sleep.
Yes, I know. We got to get things done. It's so interesting nowadays.
Yeah.
So one of the things, how did you go from starting your own company, from being a lawyer to starting your own company? What made you make that shift?
Wow. So the Cliff Note version is that while my husband and I were on travel, we met a couple of other women on travel, and one happened to be a life coach. And at that particular time, I was the senior legal advisor at Homeland Security. And so, it was a wonderful position. But I wasn't happy with the job, with the legal field. And she life coached me a little bit and gave my husband some prompts, and he life coached me. And we determined that I went back to something that I knew was a passion as a 5-year-old girl, and that was travel. And so we opened a travel agency and did really well. At the end of the day, I then got a White House appointment. So at the end of the day, we closed the travel agency, and we were already doing a lot of television in Washington, D.C., where we're based. And that caught the attention of a radio show, and we started a podcast, and the rest is history. So it's kind of a roundabout way, but essentially my passion caught up with me.
Wow, it's so interesting when you think about everything you do in life prepares you for what you're going to do next. And perhaps all those other things prepared you to create your own travel business.
Well,
pieces, yes.
Yeah, I talk about all of our lives. If you think about spokes on a bicycle wheel, you may like photography, you may like theater, you may have an interest in social justice. You may have an interest in conservation. In all of those things I do. And so they've all kind of come together to form this hub of our company, World Footprints. Because as you mentioned at the beginning, this is a socially conscious travel media platform. We are a social impact platform. And so we talk about conservation, we talk about human rights, we talk about social justice and preservation, all in the conversation of travel. And who would have thought, you could go that deep with travel discussions, but you can.
Yes, how interesting. So now are you traveling full time?
We're not traveling at all right now.
No. Okay.
um, but hopefully next year, yes, we will be traveling full time, or at least I will be. And this year we were supposed to be in Japan right now. We've covered Olympic and Paralympic Games for over a decade, but COVID happened, and we had a very aggressive travel itinerary this year, and we've gone camping twice. It's great, but
Different. So how did you have to do some type of a shift in your business in order to keep going? What did you do, and what can listeners do to reboot if they're in a travel related field?
We haven't really done a shift. We haven't pivoted because we've been talking about issues that are important to the global community since we started. And at the onset of Black Lives Matter, the movements, which turned into a global movement, we were able to talk about just the importance of communities coming together to support one single cause, and that just supported our something we've always said is that we share a common humanity, and seeing people from all different backgrounds come together to support a common human right is testimony to what we've talked about. So we haven't had to shift too much. Now, the advertising dollars and campaigns that normally support people in our industry, other travel journalists, those have gone away, but they're starting to come back. And so what we have done is we looked at different monetary tools. So we started accepting paid guest posts and links, and so that's helped a little bit, just to keep us afloat. And frankly, because we haven't gone anywhere, I've saved so much money this year. And so, I've been able to support World Footprints and the people who work for us, the writers, our editor, our producer. So it's, it hasn't been as traumatic or challenging as one would think.
Yes. Okay. Well, yeah, that I think for everybody, I mean, for me, I traveled often, at least once or twice a month. I was on a plane to somewhere and back, and I helped out with a lot of events and ended up doing a lot of speaking engagements and this and that, and all that changed. So in one way, it was really difficult. In another way, I've now been able to reach out and work with people in Australia. I have a big group that I work with now. And of course, that's like 1 a.m. my time because of their time. So I have to coordinate that. So I think I have jet lag at home anyway.
So you don't sleep.
Either. It's one of those things. And the other thing, I have South Africa, I have a group. So these are people and groups that I connected with that had different programs that I ended up entering into because before they were not online. And then once I got involved, we started other mastermind groups and courses, and it's just been a blast. And I feel like I know when I go over there next time, it's like they're my best friends now, and we're going to visit and they're going to show me the tour of everything. There's a difference between when you travel and you're a visitor and when you have somebody that lives there give you the tour. And I've had a lot of those kind of tours where I stayed at someone's home and I got to see what life is really like and get to know the culture and the community and what it's like to live there. And that really made a big difference for me.
Absolutely.
Now, yes. So traveling, you've done a lot of travel then. This is your passion or that brought you to this?
Yes. Yeah, and it's the hard work that we do with our World Footprints platform and the messages that keeps me going. I love being a lawyer, and I will always be a lawyer because, one, I work bloody hard to get my bar license, so I'm not letting that go. But it's just what we're doing with World Footprints, especially today, is so much more meaningful. And when we started this, we already knew what we wanted to do, and people tried to push us in a corner and make us a little bit more general. But being true to our voice and in our heart message has really served us, and it's serving us today. And and now people are trying to catch up and show how maybe woke they are, or they may very well be legitimately, but these are messages that we've shared from the beginning. And we started with a philosophy of unity, which is kind of echoed in a Zulu word that we love, Ubuntu. And Ubuntu essentially means I am because we are, and it speaks to our unity, and it speaks to the common humanity that we share. And so, because we were true to our voice and didn't let somebody bully or push us into a corner, and become part of the squad, the general travel squad, we're standing out legitimately and authentically.
Yes. Now, as somebody that's a female entrepreneur, a lawyer, what advice do you have? Do you have a time in your life when you were doing your training or working as a lawyer or starting this new business platform where you hit a tough spot and you had to change things or get back on track and overcome an obstacle?
Every day, almost every day. Yeah, I still do. So, and I think it's just part of life's course, and certainly the journey of an entrepreneur. It's not for the faint of heart at all. But there's been times when I've questioned, what am I doing? Because we went through really hard times, and sometimes, those hard times still continue. And so I've questioned, am I doing this for ego purposes? And I had to really evaluate why I was here and why World Footprints was so important to me, and I wanted to take ego out of it, and make sure that I wasn't pursuing something for ego, but pursuing something for something that legitimately served other people, which was my heart. And when I realized okay, this is I'm spot on. And well, I'll tell you, every time I've gotten to the point where I'm like, maybe I should just give up, something great would happen, that would encourage me and tell me, you are on the right track, Tonya. You just have to, you have to be patient. You have to go through. And I liken it to, say a mountain climber. I love this analogy. Mountain climbers, if you're, say, hiking Kilimanjaro, for example, a lot of people will quit before they summit. Maybe they're exhausted. They're having, the air is too thin. They're having breathing problems. Maybe their feet hurt. And, but others, the ones that keep going on and pushing, all it takes is just that one little final stretch for them to summit. And when you summit, you have the most beautiful view and most incredible sense of accomplishment. And that's what this journey of being an entrepreneur is like. You just got to keep falling forward. I never say fall back. I'm always pushing and always going forward. And even if that means that I have to stop and go back to practicing law for a little bit to earn some money so I could keep World Footprints going, I'm still moving forward. And that doesn't discourage me at all. And so, one thing I would have to say to anybody is just keep pushing because that rainbow, that beautiful sunset, that beautiful view at the top of the mountain is just 1 or 2 steps away, and maybe one push up that summit.
I think that there's something about when you're going into business. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
It has been interesting. I remember I started gift stores at 23 years old. I opened a 5,000 square foot store, and and you think, okay, gift stores, you're collecting money for things. The heart of my business was I was emancipated from foster care at 15, went to college early. And so I had over 200 students that were at-risk youth that were going through my training program. It was actually with the government. Oops, I dropped something. It was a program with the government to help students and at-risk youth who are emancipating from foster care. Nobody will hire them. And so my store had a heart. Next thing you know, I was able to buy 5 buildings and have 5 other stores because of the heart of it. So no matter this year, no matter what you're doing, even if you're starting small or you have to go back a step and roll up your sleeves and do some other work or hard work, that's okay, because as long as you stick with the heart of what you're doing and you're in contribution, you're giving and then receiving, everything comes back to you.
Mm-hmm.
1,000-fold, at least for me in my lifetime. And
Amen.
Every day I'm happy. Yes, every day I'm happy. You're happy because we know we're doing something that's heart-centered and helping other people. That makes all the difference.
Absolutely. And oh my gosh, I didn't realize that story. I'm honored. I'm so honored to meet you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I got so much in my book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, that talks about all the whole crazy journey and how to get from rock bottom back into action in any situation. That was something I wrote. It took me over a year. It was before COVID, but it's very on point for this year. And I actually put it on hold. I also lost my youngest son to a heart condition in December of 2019. And it was supposed to come out right at that point, and I put it on hold. And it came out at the perfect time. It got to bestseller like the first day, whatever. And it was all timing. And it's okay to take the universal pause. We call it the universal pause, this pandemic, as we're all to our room to take a moment. And so sometimes, especially I guess as women more than men, maybe we have to take a pause sometimes to raise a child or children or do something else. And it's okay, because as long as you keep focused on your outcomes, you're going to get there. Forgive yourself when things don't work out and just keep moving forward.
Yes. Yeah. And, somebody said something the other day that you can't, when you are stuck in a place where you're kind of criticizing yourself and going back, replaying, you cannot move forward when you're stuck in regret. And forgiveness is that the thing, whether you're forgiving yourself or somebody else who was unkind to you or cheated you, and we've all had those people. You cannot move forward when you're stuck in that space. And so forgiveness is powerful.
Yes. Now, let me ask you, as a young person growing up, was there a point that you got motivated, or were you always studying and going to school? And it sounds like you're very driven, and I know I've always been, but was there a point where something switched that brought you to being really focused on your purpose?
The funny story is, I knew at the age of 5 that I was going to move to London, because I had an uncle who would come back home, and home at that time was Michigan. And so he would come home and with, fairly strong British accent. And so I learned, at the age of 5, that there was a wider world out there outside of my little block. And And so I knew, at that point, I knew I was going to travel and I was going to move to London. And actually, the first place I moved abroad was London. But I always worked towards that goal somehow. I can't say that I've ever been, stuck and found a need to keep pushing myself forward, because I knew where I wanted to go. I had no idea that I would end up as a travel journalist. I mean, this just kind of happened because, I opened the door for my passion to catch up with me, and this is what happened. But and I can't say that I was focused. I mean, in school, I was a bit of I hate to use the word slacker, but I was a social butterfly. I'll say that.
So, best friends. We would have known each other back then, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, so I wasn't, I wasn't a straight A student. I did work hard. I had no choice because, my parents were kind of strict in that regard to make sure, the homework was done. But, as I grew older, my later high school years, my dad used to tell me a story that my calculus teacher was really frustrated with me. I was a cheerleader, and I was in theater, and so I was doing all of this other stuff, and I would skip calculus class and then come to class on test days and ace my exams. And she told her, Mrs. Chen was her name. She told my father, she said, Mr. Johnson, I don't know what to do with her. So I think I have some competency in math, but that's about it. I mean, I was not that great of a student.
Yeah. So don't worry, parents. Just if you've had a little time out, I mean, I think that's really important to think about, because parents that are now having their children or young adults or even young college students home. I know I have 2 home because the dorms are closed and college is closed. So my youngest are home, and for the younger ones, I have 6. So,
oh my, bless you.
So I adopted 3, so I have 3, but they're all mine, really. So
you're right.
There's something about remembering to play. Right now, a lot of us have gone into survival mode in one effect or another. We're like, okay, how are we going to get things done? We got a shift where maybe we're working from home, and now we've got the kids home, and the children or young adults, even anybody, even your relationship, your spouse, partner is going to feel that energy and stress. So remember to take a day off and go play.
Yes.
Go travel, even if you can't travel far. Listen to travel programs and plan out a trip for when this is all over, if you can't travel, depending on where you are, and at least travel in your neighborhood. Breathe and have fun with what you can, because these are going to be magic memory moments. And having time with your young adults or your children, you're molding what our future leaders are going to be. It's probably the most important job you'll ever have. And yes, and we'll never have this time, as many hours with our loved ones. Sometimes we might be like, hey, you know what? I need space right now. Right, everybody go away. Come back in an hour. So it's one of those situations, but that's the gift and blessing of travel, I think.
Yeah, and I always talk about travel being very transformative. It transforms you personally. It allows you to even grow or be comfortable when you go outside of your comfort zone. And sometimes, certain countries may be uncomfortable for people. Non-English speaking countries certainly may be uncomfortable for a lot of people. It allows you to grow professionally, because as you are obtaining these little victories, even, if you take a local bus somewhere, especially in a non-English speaking country, the confidence that builds in you is something that you can transfer to your career, your job. You may have the courage then to ask for that raise, or to leave what you're doing and pursue your hard work. But I think the most important transformation comes when travel allows us to really shift any preconceptions we may have about other people and destinations, because we are surrounded by a lot of noise, whether it be social media, sometimes mainstream media, uninformed family and friends who may have an opinion about other people, other cultures, and travel just kind of knocks those preconceptions or misconceptions out of the door. And I think that's probably the most important transformation. And certainly we need to build a global community that is united, and that respects one another and honors our differences, and really acknowledges all of the similarities we share, because that's the only thing that is going to sustain humanity going forward. I always say that you don't go to war with people you break bread with, and so we need to start breaking bread with the people who don't look like us, and I think if there's nothing else we can do during this mandatory pause, I call it a mandatory pause, but during this time, there are ways we can connect with people who look different from ours. There are pen pal clubs. You can sign up for a pen pal, to have a pen pal overseas, and begin corresponding with somebody from another country, and begin learning, about the traditions, and even some language from somebody else, in another country. I took a cooking class, a Kenyan cooking class, and I made a bit of a mess in my kitchen. But the wonderful thing about that class was that I learned some things about Kenyan culture that I didn't know before. And specifically, one of the dishes that I made, it's called chapati, and it's just basically pancakes. And I learned that young Kenyan women who are single and looking for a husband, their respective or prospective mother-in-law will agree or disagree to allow this person to marry her son based on how she makes chapati.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I made a mess of it, and I said, well, luckily I'm married, so I don't have to worry about it.
I would have been like, you know what? Have your mother cook for you.
Yeah, I know, right?
But it's amazing to travel and learn. I think one of the crazy things I did was with my youngest two, because, you have so many kids, I was able to, at some point, I stopped having the stores, and I did online stores, and actually rented the buildings out and made just about the same or more, depending on the leases that I created. And so I traveled for 7 years straight, and I brought my youngest two with me. They were in high school. I pulled them out, and we did independent study. So kind of like we're all doing now, on computer mostly, but they learned more traveling the world with me. We went to all the Tony Robbins programs. We traveled with that program a lot. And we also did our own. We went to India, Dubai, all over the world. And that really changed my kids, because they're able to connect with so many different people, kind of because you have to at first, and cultures, and ask the questions. And this year, I think everybody's asking more questions, because we see what's going on in the news with all the unrest and confusion and crazy stuff. And so the young people of today that are our future leaders are learning about history because they're experiencing it now. And they're like, wow, that really matters. They're paying attention. They're asking questions and saying, why is this like this? This isn't what we want in our world. And so I'm hoping that this year is a beautiful reset, so that for this whole decade, it's a foundation of setting new guidelines, new standards, new connections with people all over the world so that we're together in community and we have the freedom to do that in a healthier, better way because of all these healthy changes that seem maybe difficult right now.
Yeah, and Sheila, honestly, I hope that, with this reset, of course, we've seen the reset, the world, wildlife returning, the waters becoming bluer, sea life, returning to Venice, of all places. I just really, really hope that the lesson that we take away from this year is one of responsible stewardship for our planet, because we've seen the mess that we made pre-COVID, and we did make a bit of a mess, with this world, and so that lesson, and the lesson that, again, we all share a common humanity. Every single person on this earth has experienced this COVID, this global pandemic, and so we have this common experience, and we're bonded through that. And so those are two lessons that I really, really pray that people come away with, a greater appreciation for our planet and for humanity.
Yes. And we are coming to the end of our recording here. So I wanted to know how listeners can reach you.
Yeah, so we are all over social media. I haven't mastered TikTok yet. I don't know if I want to, but we are at World Footprints. Our website, Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, LinkedIn, you name it. We're all over except TikTok, and I may, I have time. I'm not traveling. I may go ahead and take that up too, or learn how to do that.
Yes, I just barely got on TikTok, and it took Gary Vee and his shows and training to finally convince me. He's like, "You're not on TikTok. Why aren't you?"
Oh God!
You need to be. And I think for the travel business, it might be something.
Yeah, I will. I'll get around to it. I mean,
it's you don't even have to dance. I only did one dancing video on there. So I'm really new to it, but it is different than what my conception was.
Really?
Yes. Gary Vee really, if you watch some of his videos talking about TikTok, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Well, you've encouraged me. So I the next time we talk, I will certainly I'll show you my work product with TikTok. And I did want to mention, if it's okay, that from our website, worldfootprints.com, if anyone signs up for our newsletter, we offer a free gift. It's yours to keep, whether you sign up and unsubscribe. And but we'd love to welcome you to the World Footprints community and just continue these meaningful conversations.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for being a guest on the show today, and we look forward to sharing more next time.
Thank you, my dear.
If you are just tuning in, this is the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and action steps to help you rebuild, reinvent, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and we are here today on NBC's KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. Today we were discussing the beauty and fun of travel as a career, travel as something that you may want to do in your life. I personally traveled for 7 years straight. I enjoyed learning from some of the finest people on the planet, incredible mentors such as Tony Robbins, Dr. Wayne Dyer when he was with us. I had a blast with the travels, and as a parent of 6 children, I still had my youngest 2 children at home with me, and we actually did what a lot of people are doing this year, and the kids did independent study and traveled with me for 2 years straight, and I'm telling you, they learned so much from the experience of traveling. And like I said, me traveling full time as they all started going to college, I just kept on traveling and then visiting all my kids in the dorms. And so with that, there's always a time in life. And right now, I'm sure people feel like a little concerned. Maybe, is the world ever going to open up again? Will we get to travel again? And yes, there are actually many opportunities to already start traveling. And if you feel like it's not exactly the time, it will be at some point. I really have faith in that, in our science, and just in the fact that things do come and go, and we keep moving on as a human race and humanity. We always find ways to make things available to us, especially beautiful things like traveling and getting to know people from around the world connects us even more. And so right now we may have to be traveling more through our computers with online listening and online courses. I know I offer 14 different online courses that I teach every week, and so I get to travel all over the place from my little recording studio, and I really enjoy that because now I have clients and students in my courses that are from other sides of the planet that maybe would have never joined had it not been for the pandemic worldwide pause. And so I know that we already have open invitations for when they start traveling again, that I am going to visit them in their countries, and they are also going to come visit me, and we're going to give each other the tours from somebody who lives in the city, and that's going to be a blast. So one of the things that's really important is with travel, and maybe you don't love travel, but there's something about just getting away and giving yourself time, taking those breaks, taking the learning experiences, and it's to me, it goes back to self-care and spirituality, whatever that may be for you, and how to have those times even this year when we may be staying home a little bit more than usual and not traveling as much. How can we make sure to give ourselves the vacation time and even the small trips? Sometimes I know lots of people, they live in a state or a country, and they haven't even seen their own beautiful sites, their own botanical gardens, or historic places to visit, mountains to climb in the area, what have you. So it may be that you're going to be traveling and having your own adventure as a family, or even as a work group, as something fun to do, where maybe you go have a work meeting at one of the botanical gardens or some other place in the area that is permitted, and that you can get out of the office or out of homes and into nature. So that is another idea. Right now, I wanted to share a little bit from my chapter in my book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. And I wanted to share a little bit from the chapter I have on self-care and spirituality. All right, everyone, take a listen. Chapter 10, Self-Care and Spirituality. Lisa's husband passed away. As a couple, they had recently agreed that they were going to sell their house and move to a retirement community, and now she had to do that alone. Between the loss of her husband and the home her son had grown up in, Lisa was hit with a double whammy of grief. As anyone who has lost someone knows, grief causes stress levels to rise exponentially. On top of that, selling a house and moving, even when it's a planned, happier move, is also stressful and can be unsettling. You lose things, objects get broken, and you have to readjust to a new place. Lisa wasn't just moving away from the house where she'd raised her son. She was also leaving the neighborhood she'd lived in for 45 years, where her friends lived, and where she volunteered in the community. She felt she was losing everything in her life at once. Lisa and I started talking because she needed some support through all these decisions and upheaval. She was even overwhelmed with things she was usually quite good at, her paperwork and taxes, because of all the changes she was going through at once. As we talked, she told me how she took care of her husband, her son, and her community. But she had never taken time for herself, and now she was faced with too much time. I gave her the challenge of doing one thing for herself every day, as if she was doing it for her husband or close friend. If someone showed up on her doorstep in pain, stressed out, or going through something, Lisa would drop everything to help that person. Now, though, that person would be her. She was going to give herself as much attention, honor, and love as she gave to so many other people. And I asked her to send me pictures of her doing these things so she would be held accountable. At first she was like, "Are you crazy?" I promised her it would help, even though she thought it would be dumb. For me, I told her, do it for me if you're not going to do it for yourself. The first day, Lisa sent me a picture of herself getting her nails done with the text, "I haven't had my nails done in months, not since before Dave got sick. It felt so good, and you were right. I kind of needed that break." "Great," I replied. "What are you doing tomorrow?" From survival mode to self-care. When we hit rock bottom situations in life, it tends to send us into survival mode. And when we're in that place, we're so busy making ends meet, struggling with grief, loss, and pain, and dealing with whatever is going on that we don't have a choice but to eliminate some of the things we usually do. When we have to go to work, then go visit somebody in the hospital, then pick up your kids, and you still have to make dinner and maintain a certain level of cleanliness in your home, or whatever duties you have to do, taking an hour for yourself to go to the gym or meditate gets pushed aside. It's just today, you tell yourself, but then tomorrow comes and goes, and another day and another. The next thing you know, it's been a month or two, and then you really start to notice the difference. One day, you wake up and you're not who you used to be. When you aren't practicing self-care, it shows up all over. Maybe you're exhausted and not sleeping right. Maybe you're off your healthy diet. Perhaps you've pushed your meditation practice and it's showing up at work or with relationships. You start snapping at people you would never snap at. When you're already at rock bottom with one situation and then you realize how many of your healthy habits went in the fallout, it can be overwhelming. You've hit another rock bottom and you may be looking around and thinking, how do I get from here back to where I was? You start over. One step at a time. Starting over sounds scary, but there is good news. Your muscles have memory. Your body remembers healthy eating, and you can catch up on your sleep, but it's not going to happen in one day. It took you more than one day to reach this rock bottom place. One day of not cleaning up doesn't bring a mess into your life. One day of extra spending doesn't necessarily lead to a negative cash flow situation, so it's going to take a few days or even weeks to get back to where you were. The fastest way to start climbing up from rock bottom is to take small steps and focus on little wins. Do one small chore that's fallen by the wayside, and then one reward to yourself, and do one small act of self-care too. As you do one, the other becomes easier, and you climb back up from your rock bottom. Once you've taken the first step and have that first little win, you can take another. Maybe tomorrow you'll clean one part of your house or deal with one bill that got thrown into a pile. Set a goal or a timer, and once you reach that number or that time, stop and take some time to reward yourself for the progress you've made. Just for tonight, take 5 minutes to meditate. It doesn't have to be the whole hour that you used to do, as long as you're doing something. Maybe you're starting over with your budget, so you can't go get a massage or facial or have a spa day right now. Just for today, try doing your nails at home, or just for this afternoon, take a 10-minute walk. Anything that leaves you thinking, oh, that feels better, after you do it. You can even schedule appointments for time to spoil yourself a little, even if you just mark enough time in your calendar for simple things like lighting a candle and meditating, taking a walk or a nap, or watching a movie, something that's just for you. You'll still have to take the right actions and take care of the things you're required to care for in your life. But you can also honor an appointment with yourself as much as you show up for the other people or situations or emergencies that threw you into survival mode in the first place. Your body and your mind need that break. They need a respite in order to continue getting you from that rock bottom place back into your life. Without it, it's like not putting fuel in your car and expecting to go on a road trip. You know that sooner or later, you're just going to run out of gas. With your brain and body fueled up and ready to go, however, you will be able to come up with new strategies for resolving whatever issues come up. You define your self-care. You have to take care of yourself before you help all the other people that you care for. Let me say that again. You have to take care of yourself first. Self-care looks different for everybody. It may include meditating, praying or another spiritual practice, doing yoga, walking, running, lifting weights, playing sports, playing a musical instrument, seeing a movie, dancing, journaling, reading, being in nature, gardening, horseback riding, getting your hair or nails done, getting a facial or massage, painting a picture or creating art, sleeping in or taking a nap as a gift to your body, just sitting and being happy doing nothing. What do all these things have in common? They are activities that you do for you. And if you're not used to practicing self-care, how do you get started? Self-care is individual. It's whatever fills your soul, not anybody else's. So first, think about what fuels you. You may have to go back in your memory a couple decades to find something you used to love that has fallen away in your life. When I was a kid, I was on the swim team. That was my meditation. When things were going wrong at home, I would go swim laps for hours. I still like to swim whenever I can. It doesn't feel like working out. Swimming energizes me. I just lose myself in the quiet, peaceful rhythm. It's the best medicine in the world for me. A friend I used to go to the spa with loves being in the wilderness. For her, it is heaven. Her favorite vacation of all time was a hiking trip where she carried everything in a backpack, went to the bathroom in bushes, and swam naked in the lake. She was one with nature, and that was a spiritual experience for her. That wouldn't do it for me. I liked the spa because it was elegant. We got massages every day and had a chef preparing our meals. They took care of us. Putting on a backpack, walking across the country, and sleeping in the cold woods would be torture for me. Self-care is different for everyone. Your partner's definition and your child's definition and your definition of passion and relaxation are probably all going to differ. You have to honor those differences and evaluate what that is for you. How are you going to take a break? What is your release? How do you meditate and relax and refuel? What are those things you've done throughout your life that have caused you to lose all sense of time? When you're in that flow state, so connected with whatever you're doing that nothing else matters, it gives you that break and that sense of peace. It doesn't have to take a lot of time or money. I don't want to completely oversimplify things, but self-care doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to cost a lot of money. It doesn't even need to take a lot of time. You can renew yourself and fuel your soul even on a budget. When you're at rock bottom, you probably don't have the time or money to take a big trip and fly to another country, just to sit by the pool and sip coconut drinks. You can still recreate the restful aspect of that vacation in your daily life without spending thousands of dollars and taking 2 weeks off work. Now, I'm not saying never to take vacations. You may want to travel the world or visit loved ones or go to your favorite places. I'm simply saying that you don't have to do these things in order to refuel. We'll talk more about lifestyle design in the next chapter. But when you design a life that makes you happy and that lifts you up, you don't have to take a vacation from it. Who wants a life you need to escape because it doesn't fuel your soul? So where can you build little breaks and mini vacations into everyday life? You can find a pool in your neighborhood and enjoy sitting by it. Go for a swim. Take a class. Take a nap. Trade an hour of babysitting with another family and use that hour for anything you want. The person who comes back from these mini vacations is not a cranky, exhausted, unhappy person. That person is fueled and relaxed. The little things that would normally bug you will now just roll off your back. You may not even notice. Everybody around you benefits from that brief respite as much as you do. When you practice self-care and take these little breaks, it's a bonus when you get to do something more elaborate. Take care of yourself, inside and out. It's also important to take care of your complete self. Part of that means going to your doctor regularly for whole body checkups. I have a friend who was doing everything right, eating healthy and working out, but she kept gaining weight. Nothing was working, so she was ready to give up and go for the pie. Then she went to the doctor and found out that she had a thyroid issue. Other people in her family have the same condition, but she didn't think about it until the doctor brought it up. There was a simple treatment, and now she's enjoying the fruits of her healthy lifestyle. It's important to determine whether you have a condition that requires medical intervention. Maybe you're low on vitamin D, which can show up as depression, fatigue, getting sick often, or even brittle bones. Perhaps you need a prescription instead of a coping mechanism. Maybe you're not getting the right nutrients or are having a hormonal issue. If you're tired all the time, you may be drinking a lot of caffeine to make up for that. Some people even turn to Adderall or other drugs, but your doctor could diagnose a biochemical shift in your body.
And that was a portion of Chapter 10 in my bestseller, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom and back into action in any situation. Grab a copy on Amazon, Audible, or Kindle, or you may get it at my website, www.sheilamac.com, and there you will also find a free Introduction to the Boots Formula course just for you. Thank you again for tuning in. This is Sheila Mac, your host of The Sheila Mac Show, and I look forward to talking with you again on your morning commute. on NBC's KCAA radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. And that was a portion of Chapter 10 in my new book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. It is now available as a bestseller on Amazon, Audible, and you can also get it at www.sheilamac.com. So I have some homework for you. Take a listen or take a read of the new book and see how you can reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. Thank you again for tuning in, and I look forward to having you on the show as a listener next time. Also, if you have a question for Dear Sheila, you may go to www.dearsheila.com. All right, see you tomorrow. All right, if you are tuning in again, this is Sheila Mac and the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest, where we are sharing real stories and real solutions to help you rebuild, reinvent, and reboot your life on your terms. You just heard a example of part of Chapter 10 on spirituality and self-care, and earlier we discussed the benefits of travel with our special guest. So I have some homework for you. Get a copy of my latest bestseller, Bootstraps and Bra Straps. It is now available on Audible, Amazon, Kindle, and also through my website at www.sheilamac.com. This is Mental Health Awareness Month, and this year has been very challenging for so many people. So I want to remind you to share the 211 information to anyone who may need to get extra resources on rental assistance, help with finding mental health professionals, help with maybe rent. I already said rent. Help with getting through a difficult time, grief support. So any kind of resource in the community, in addition to the resources that I offer for free on my website and book, you may go to Google 211, which is the new 411, Google 211 and your state in the United States, and you will get a list of free resources to help you get back on track this year. Again, I hope you can grab a copy, and this month I am also donating. For every copy of my new book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, that's sold, I will be donating a copy to women that are in the women's shelters, and sometimes they're women with children, and just to give them something for inspiration and to get them back on track, I will be donating books, and I'm also offering some free courses for these people that are actually having to start over, whether it is due to the COVID or fires in California or the storms we've had on the East Coast. So I look forward to having you listen in again tomorrow. As always, I wish you life, love, laughter, and light. Thank you for tuning in to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest, where we share real situations with real solutions to help you rebuild, reinvent, and reboot your life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mac. I'm giving you some homework. Grab a copy of my bestseller, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, to learn the formula to go from rock bottom and back into action in any situation. If you have a burning question for the show, send it into www.dearsheila.com. Tune in again Mondays at 1 p.m. Pacific Time and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Pacific Time, right here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.